In today's lesson, you will discover voice leading, a method which will truly transform the way you think about chord progressions, particularly when working with triads. And these are concepts you will find taught in detail in my course, Triads Inside Out. We begin with C major, root 3-5 on string set 1. Now this root 3-5 are notes of the C major scale. So as with all major triad shapes around this, I can form a major scale pattern. That serves as a root note map to form the other triads in the key. Now what I'm going to do is play you each of the 6 possible chord moves from the 1 to each of the other chords in the key of C major. And I want you to notice a couple of things. Firstly, see how little I need to move the fretting hand as I do this. This is good voice leading. And look carefully for the chords that share common notes with the C major and those that share none at all. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, and 1, 7. That right there is voice leading in a nutshell. Let's break it down. You may have seen there are 2 chords which share 2 common notes with the 1 chord. That is E minor 1 to 3 and A minor 1 to 6. Movement in diatonic thirds and sixths will give you 2 common tones because the way that triads are made of stacked thirds. Diatonic here means staying strictly within the key. You'll see that C and E minor share the E and G notes, and C and A minor share the C and E notes. And this 2 common note concept will run throughout the entire key. So what's the rule to help you remember? When moving in diatonic thirds, the root note of chord number 1 will lower down 1 note in the scale to become the 5th of chord number 2. Let's see how that works from C major on string set 2. So C, lower the root to become the 5th of E minor, lower the root to become the 5th of G major, lower the root to become the 5th of B diminished, lower the root to become the 5th of D minor, lower the root to become the 5th of F major, lower the root to become the 5th of A minor, lower the root to become the 5th of C over G. When moving, in a sense, in the opposite direction in diatonic sixths, it is the 5th of chord number 1 which will be raised up into the next note in the key to become the root of chord number 2. Let's see that from the C chord. So C, raise the 5th to A minor, raise the 5th to F major, raise the 5th to D minor, raise the 5th to B diminished, raise the 5th to G major, raise the 5th to E minor, raise the 5th to C over E. So whenever you see a chord progression moving up or down in thirds, you can be confident that there will be at least 2 common notes and only 1 note will need to change. This is essentially the principle of voice leading, in which you move as little as possible from one chord to the next. There are 2 chords which share 1 common note with the 1 chord. That was F major, a 1 to 4, and G major, a 1 to 5. Movement in fourths and fifths are found in the circle of fifths, and so I like to think of these as circle progressions. When moving in fourths, the root of chord 1 will stay and become the 5th of chord number 2. And as you do it, the chord shape will move up the fretboard into a higher fret. So let's see C to F in the different playing positions. And again, that applies when playing through the entire key. Root will become the 5th. C to F, to B diminished, to E minor, to A minor, to D minor, to G, to C over G. And when moving in diatonic fifths, the 5th of chord number 1 will stay and in turn become the root of chord number 2. And chord 2 will be found in a lower fretboard position. So C to G in the different positions. C to G over B. C over E, G over D. C over G to G. And again, this rule applies when playing through the entire key. 5 will become root. Here's that on string set 2. So C to G, to D minor, to A minor, to E minor, to B diminished, to F, to C. And there are 2 remaining triads which share no common notes with the 1 chord. That was D minor, a 1 to 2, and B diminished, a 1 to 7. Now those 2 chords are neighbours of the C major. With triads built in stacked thirds, inevitably neighbouring chords will share no common tones. The thing to know here though is that you will always have 2 possible ways to play that second chord, either in a higher fretboard position or a lower fretboard position. Instinctively you would move up the fretboard from C to D minor, but as we've just seen, D minor also exists in a lower fret in a different voicing. Voicing meaning the arrangement of the chord tones. And this rule again will apply to any neighboring chords in the key. You will always have 2 possibilities right next door, either in a higher fret or a lower fret. A common triad chord scale will have you playing through the same voicing of each triad. But applying these rules, you can play that same sequence of chords whilst descending down the fretboard. So let's just recap that with a different position of the 1 chord. From C, I go to C over G. Beginning on the 5th, and this is 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. My root note maps for the different chords. And seeing this through the lens of voice leading is my 1 chord. To my 2, I can go up using the same voicing or find it in a lower fret in a different voicing. 1 to 3, I lower the root. 1 to 4, the root stays constant. 1 to 5, the 5th stays constant. 1 to 6, I raise the 5th into the 6th. And 1 to 7, I've got 2 possibilities, either in the higher fret with the same voicing or a lower fret with a different voicing. Sounds are available as always on Patreon, and right here is a video lesson in which I'll show you how you can use these triad shapes when creating a melodic guitar solo. Practice well, and I'll see you next week.